There have been comments on my videos about immigration touching on the threat to women from these men who are arriving in this country. I haven't covered this topic, not in this relating to immigration, although I have previously made a video about the domestic violence disclosure scheme, more commonly known as Clare's Law, which is something that every woman in the country should be aware of and should exercise for their own safety. But let's look where we are. We are witnessing boatloads of aggressive, entitled, arrogant young men with expensive trainers and expensive mobile phones who literally get out of a dinghy and demand to be taken to the nearest 3- and 4-star hotel while our own citizens are sleeping on the streets. Let's not forget the long and arduous task that women have faced in this country to go from being little more than chattels with no rights, and that's not that long ago, I will get to that in a moment, to where they are. But despite the narrative and despite the wishy-washy backpatting that job done, I'll disagree with that. And I would actually go so far as to say that over the last few years, this noble cause has begun to regress in a sinister manner. In fact, I would go as far as to say that I fear that we are heading on a slippery slope to misogynism on a scale not seen in this country for years, decades or centuries, and nobody is speaking up about it. And here is a perfect example. Just a few weeks ago, on the 18th of August, I may have mentioned this before, it was the anniversary of the Married Women's Act 1882. In fact, last year it was the 140th anniversary of this milestone. For the first time in the UK since the Magna Carta, women had some rights. And it took a few more decades before they won the right to vote. Another decade after that to vote on equal terms with men. Several more decades before the Equality in Work Act, I forgot what it's called, was passed, and so on and so forth. I was looking on the 18th of August to see which media would mention this. Even the Look How Wonderful I Am Guardian made no mention of this because the media has been so busy worrying about effing pronouns and aggressive invaders arriving on dinghies rather than what fundamentally matters in this country. There is something that we must keep in mind, and this is an empirical historical fact. All societies that have disrespected women morally, socially and politically have fallen one way or another. Let's keep this in mind before we capitulate to people who may be pretending to be one thing, but as we know by their behaviour over the last few weeks, what they say, what they do and what they plan to do are not, definitely not, one and the same thing. There have, of course, been other influences that have been a threat to women, an increase of easily accessible, inappropriate material online that has precipitated sexual attacks on women and even domestic violence. It's not all down to politics. It's not all down to a group of people. There are several factors all combined together. But my point is, it's not being addressed. We're more concerned about who we offend. We're more concerned about whether we offend Europe by dumping a boatload of people that have been dumped on us back where they should have been in the first place. So we are faced with a decision, many decisions. And one thing we must keep in mind, social and political problems are not geographic, they are demographic. Import the people, import the problem. Are we prepared to just sit back and import problems from all over the world and make the UK an international demographic dustbin? Or are we going to stand up and say enough is enough, and anybody who misbehaves, anybody who supports terrorism must answer for that to the full extent of the law? I'll leave that with you. That will do for now. Thank you very much. Bye bye. See you next time.